Hi, Gay DeRusso, the Majestic rider. So here today with the Icelandic single footer cross. This is Cayenne. He's doing much better. We got his flat walk much better. We got his saddle gait going better and all his turns and all of that. Some of you might have a horse like this. He's more on the lazier side, but he is very young. So again, that might improve in time. He's very quiet, so he's not very spooky. So those are the good things. He can trot and rack when he's loose and canter. And he sometimes tends to fall asleep on his feet and not pay attention. And sometimes he would like me to carry him instead of him carrying himself because he's a little bit, again, on the lazier side. He's growing, but right now he's built a little downhill. You see where he normally carries his head. It's pretty low compared to like a walking horse that'll usually have their head up. So horses that tend to carry their heads very low and are built downhill can be heavy on their front end. So I'm going to show you some things with him, but I'm going to talk about a couple of things. So first is the contact. I cannot ride this horse on a loose rein unless I want him to trip and not pay attention, because that's what he does. Because he's so lazy, I have to keep the contact and keep him awake. When I go over poles, if I don't tap him in front of him, he doesn't always pay attention and sometimes he'll trip over him. So I tap him so he stays awake. Now again, they can be a little clumsy as they're growing. That's normal, but we got to make sure he pays attention and stays awake on his feet. He will also bring his head lower and lean on the bit. And if he does that, I slide the bit a little bit hard, not to bring his head down, but to tell him, hey, don't lean on me. I'm not carrying you. Like right now, he's getting heavy. So I did a little bit hard till his head comes back up. And then I get him forward. So even though my reins are straight, I could ride him with one finger because I want him to be very light. So when you're trying to help them gait and do things, you need to keep that rein usually a little bit straight, because if you keep letting it go loose, see, he'll start to get strung out, and then he got a little pacey because he doesn't know yet. So he needs help, but he also needs to learn he has to carry himself, that I am not carrying you. Don't let your horse get heavy on the front end. That makes trippers because they're already heavy, and so when they catch their foot, they just fall forward, and a lot of times then they'll fall down because they have 60 to 80% of their weight on their front end. So this guy's going to need help for a while till he's finished growing, which will be a while, and they got to make sure to hold him straight because he likes to wiggle around to get out of work, and that he doesn't get heavy. So there he got a little pacey, but remember at the gate, that's where so many of them get pacey in my arena. But this is his flat walk. It's quite good now. He can carry himself much straighter. And then I'm going to show you his backup too, because that's gotten better. But he has to get faster with his responses. We're trying to make him a little bit more sensitive. So, whoa. Now watch, I'm going to pull backwards, see nothing happen. Now he's waking up, and now he's picking up his feet. Now he's trying to pull down, so I got a little bit more pressure in his mouth. And now I'm going to go forward, see no response, so I'm hitting him. So horses like this, it's best to ride them with spurs and a stick, make them pay attention. If you just have your leg on them, they will usually just ignore you many times and lean on their front end. So you got to make sure you're making them a little bit more sensitive and keeping them awake. See, I tapped them right in front of that. So if your horse is trippy, start tapping them. Make sure they're awake in front of the obstacles. Okay, so this is not going to be a super long video. We're going to go to our saddle gait. I'm looking at my watch because I like to time it. There he's heavy, so I'm sliding the bit pretty hard because he should know better at this point to not expect me to carry him anymore. So he can get trotty, he can get pacey. So I'm going to start him by sitting back, picking my hand up, adding my leg, getting the gait. Let's go over pole and see what happens. I'm going to sit way back. Why am I going to sit way back? Because again, he could get trippy. So now I'm starting to get that I can sit a little bit more neutral on him when I'm not going over those poles, okay? When they're pacey but very heavy on their front end, you'll see in some of the videos, I said, well, lean a little forward because it opens up the area for their back. Don't do that on a trippy one. On trippy ones, you just stay back no matter what because you're trying to keep them awake and staying on their feet. So rather keep my weight back in case they do trip. Okay, so now if we're trying to sit up a little taller and we're just trying to keep the same speed, keep a little bend. There, he's a little heavy, so I'm going to slide the bit, got his head up a little bit. And now you'll see I have a wiggle in the saddle. It's not completely smooth, but again, he can be trotty, and the footing makes him a little trotty, so that's okay. But if you go back and watch his videos in the beginning, you'll see he kept changing speed, and I got a lot of jarring even though he was doing the correct gait. So what we're trying to do is, this is better, is get him to be a little bit smoother, and I did that by using the shoulder in and getting him to carry himself straight at other times, but I used that shoulder in when he got pacey or the leg yield. And I'm trying to get him in a frame because he used to throw his head up and down. There, he's speeding up, so I'm holding, but I still have my leg on him. Now see how he put his head out to the right when I said no? That's him going, I can't do this, and I said, yes, you can. So with him, I got to be a little bit tough because if I'm not, he doesn't respond. You don't want to hit the horse 20 times. You just want to get your point across, so you got to do it a little bit hard. Think of how a mare kicks a gelding when she doesn't want to deal with it anymore. She kicks him pretty darn hard so she doesn't have to kick him 20 times. So you want to get after your horse. This is the pacey part, so I'm sitting back. And I got my right leg because he's drifting, but that was better than the last turn. And with him, I keep my hands up a little bit. I don't want to hold him up, but I got to keep him up because if I put him down, he's just going to fall forward, okay? Or he's going to go out of frame. And now we're trying to get the frame on him and keep his head from going up and down the whole time. It's not that he's shaking his head like in a flat walk or a running walk. He just shakes his head because he's trying to goof around, and he's like, I can't do this. Kind of objecting, thinking he can't do it, but he can. So this is like your friend who would rather sit on the couch than go out exercising. And you're like, you're just 21. You can exercise. Come on, let's go. And you got. And you got to wake them up and make them go to work. Otherwise, they just go into lazy mode. So, much, much better. The speed's not going to be a problem. It's the footfall and then keeping it smooth as you go faster. So if I can get this in here with this footing, it's going to be quite easy when I go out on the road or on hard gravel out there. But you'll see it, sometimes he's kind of smooth. Sometimes you'll see me jar a little bit. Some of that's how he's carrying himself and he's changing, and other times it's just the footing. So now I can saddle gait him for about 5 minutes each direction. Here he's drifting. When I say drifting, it means I'm trying to go this direction and he's going to the right. He's going the other direction. So there's a little jarring. So he got a little fast and he got a little bit more hock motion. And that's why he went up and down. So even if your horse feels like a washing machine, like it's really jarring, if you keep practicing, they're going to get better and smoother over time. But if you don't practice, they're not going to because they don't have the muscles. Now that's quite smooth. Oh. Now I'm backing him up. Good boy. And then he's going to get a break. I'm going for a while now. Okay. So that was almost 5 minutes. But right there, he got quite smooth. So I'm like, let's give him a break now before he gets too tired and gets rougher. So it's going to get smoother and smoother. I just have to keep it up. And I have to make sure that each time I ride him, that I ask for more. I said to someone the other day, and they go, that's a gay mnemonic. Don't settle for mediocre. Why would you settle for mediocre when you can get the best of the best out of your horse? Put in the time and effort, they'll get better. Keep putting in the time and the effort, They'll get better and better and then best. So you want your horse to be the best horse he can be, the best behavior, the best gait. And the only way to get that is you have to work with them to get it out of them. Okay? Some horses will just give it to you. It's much easier. And some horses are very talented, but you have to get it out of them. And that's why people need coaches and horses need coaches, is to get that out of them. Okay? So nothing special on his feet, just regular shoes, and no special angles or anything like that. Just been training him and giving him time to recover, and then pushing him a little bit more each time I ride him. So I'm looking at his breathing. This is where you look at their breathing to see how hard they're breathing. So he's not breathing that hard anymore, which is good. That means he's getting in much better shape. So that also means that I can go back to work. So what I'm going to do now, his turn on the forehand is quite good. So now we're working on our turn on the haunches. So I sit back, take both reins. Left rein opens up, right rein goes against his neck. Right leg is right at your girth, and you have to look where you're going. Right here, you want to pull a little bit because they tend to go forward, and then keep pushing with your leg. So very good, Cayenne. Good job, buddy. He's like, yeah, I did something right. Okay. Now I'm asking him to go forward. Not much happened, and then he got crooked. All right. So I'm going to get him back up to his flat walk. I like to go through the gates. Now here he's heavy. So I'm going to pick his head up. I just lifted my hands up, and I kind of squeeze a little on the rein, and then I release. Now I'm releasing, but you'll see my rein is still straight. So the problem with a lot of people is when you release too much, and then the horse has nothing, and they're not ready for that. That's why they're not holding the gait as long. Now this is a good flat walk. He's drifting a little left. So I'm putting my left leg on, and I open my right rein to help him. I like to stay in the circle when they're pacey because it gets that inside leg up underneath them, which helps them to engage and drive, and it helps to separate their legs. A little heavy here. Now, he got heavy twice there, so that's probably the footings getting harder there, and he's like, let me just kind of be lazy through this. And I'm like, no, because that's telling me that's somewhere you're going to trip if you're not paying attention. All right, so let's sit back, add leg. Whoa. Now he just tripped, didn't he? I want to make it count that he starts paying attention more. So I backed up a lot, didn't I? Now I'm going to go forward again. I'm like, you need to pay attention. So you got to stay on some of their cases. I mean, it's great that they're quiet, but it's also bad that they're quiet. So keep them awake. And then, yes, we can do other things with his shoes, like roll his toe or rocker the shoe, and that's what I would recommend. Now, he's saddle gaiting, but it's very slow, and it's very lazy, and he's cutting into the right. So I just bent him. You saw me hit him. I'm sitting back just because he got a little trippy until we get going better again. And then I'm looking at the time, so I know how long I'm doing this. Time yourself, because if you don't, you'll do it less than you think. 5 minutes always feels like 10 minutes, and 2 minutes feels like 5 minutes. So to progress, you gotta time it and know how long you're doing it so you can add more time. So here he's cutting in a little bit. Now I'd like to sit up taller, but I can't yet because he just feels like he's not paying attention and he's heavy. Okay, so I'm going to stand up for a second. I was just readjusting my pelvis. So let's go over the pole, but I'm going to sit way back right here. Good boy. Because sometimes he gets there and he just doesn't lift his feet up or he stands on the pole. A lot of walking horses do those things compared to the other breeds. But any of the breeds can do it, so you keep that horse awake. So he's doing pretty good. Again, every once in a while you see me get some jarring in the saddle. Now I'm bending him. He's a little heavy in the bridle, so I'm going to slide the bit a little bit hard. See his head pop up? Then I just released. So again, I'd like to get him that his head is a little high, but his nose is tucked in. But sometimes you can't do it all, and we were getting there. Now I tapped him again because when I put some pressure in his mouth, he slowed down even though I had leg on him. And he knows what that means now. I don't do that in the beginning. Now he's heavy. do something when they're heavy. Do not let them lean on your hands. That's what we're talking about when we talk about lightness. Your horse, you should feel its mouth just very softly, but they should never be pulling on you. If they are, they're unbalanced, or they're out of control, or they're taking over, or they're not paying attention. There's many reasons. So now I'm really getting after him with my right heel because he was cutting way in. The only way to make him stronger is to make him do it. And you might think that's me, but that's how you get better. When you go to the gym, the personal trainer just goes, yeah, that's good enough. 5's good. You'll never get fit. You'll never get muscles. You got to go with someone who's like, hey, you got to do 5 more. Do you want to get big? Do you want to get better? Let's do it. Come on. That's who you need. So that's who these horses kind of need, is someone to get after them. Not someone to be nice and not make them better. Someone who's going to push them, get them awake, get them picking up their feet. So that's better, because that's where he always gets a little heavy. So again, my reins are straight, but that doesn't mean I'm pulling hard on him, except when he's being a goofball or getting real heavy. So now I'm just riding with my finger. I'm old. My fingers aren't very, very strong. So even though you see my fingers wrapped around the reins and you see that rein straight, it doesn't mean I'm pulling unless he's being out of control or too lazy. But you got to keep some contact, because if that contact comes and goes, they just don't understand, and they can do so many things with their feet. They just keep changing. So with him, the way he's going to gait best is with his head a little high, because then he won't get as heavy, and he'll pay more attention, and he'll be lighter in the bridle. So he's not one we want to ride with a quarter horse with his head down below his wither or down by his knees. Horses that are heavy, don't pay attention. That can be very dangerous. Don't do that. Keep their head up above your saddle pommel or your saddle horn. You can tuck their head in and frame them up, but do not let them get that head way down. If you're going to rest, I just stop and rest those horses. I don't let them walk on big floppy reins when they're trippers or lazy, because they usually fall asleep. So do it at a standstill and then go back to work. So there, he's pretty good. So let's give him a little break. Good boy. So I'm making sure when I stop too, he doesn't go like that and pull on the bit real hard. A lot of people let the horses do that. They stop and they let the horse yank the rein out. No, 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 no. Don't do that. The horse should never learn to pull the reins out of your hands. You always hold. When they get off, in other words, they lighten up and they're not leaning on your hands, you feel lightness in your hands, like the horse let go. That's when you release. But so many people either don't release at all, they release too much, or they release at the wrong time. And you'll see every time I take a break, this is the buckle. When we say holding the buckle, these are loop reins, because it makes a loop. So split are ones without a buckle. And it has a buckle, so when they say holding the buckle, this is what it means. So would I ride him on the trail like this? No. Not unless I had like the Michelin Man outfit on, because again, it's going to make him more likely to trip. Look how far his head is from the ground. It's only about 2 feet, okay? And if all his weight is here, then of course when he trips, he's almost on the ground already. So it's not that far to hit the ground. And that doesn't give him enough time to get his weight back to get himself up. And some people don't understand these concepts, but engagement is when you have the hind quarter underneath them, so it's giving you power and it lightens the front end. Think you're in a motorboat and you hit the gas, you feel this, right? That's what you want to kind of feel with the horse. You don't want to feel you're pulling down, like when the boat's slowing down and they just cut the gas. You feel all of a sudden, you feel the front end come down and you feel the back end level up, and then the waves push you, okay? That's heavy. That's what it feels like when the horse is heavy. So you want to create that these horses are light especially the trippers. You want to get as much weight as you can on that back end. And you also want to sit back, because even if the horse is light and doing well, if you're riding like this all the time, well, then if they trip, you just falling forward might knock their head down, then gets them closer to the ground, then they trip again, and they, trip and fall, and that way you're knocking them over. So with trippers, you got to be very careful and not let them get heavy on that front end. So again, we're trying to get all the horses to engage more, to lighten their front end, because it makes it safer for us, and it's also a more pleasant ride. These are not quarter horses with tiny little strides and very agile. A lot of these gaited horses are calmer, lazier, and can get very heavy. So you got to be careful how you're riding them. And the bigger their front end, like some of those walking horses have huge chest, big head, long neck, and they have a hind quarter, but it doesn't match their front end. Those horses are naturally built to get on their front end, and they're naturally built to just kind of get strung out if they have that big stride. So those horses, you want to frame them up, keep them up a little bit so they stay light. So that was... We'll let him be done with his saddle gait there. Now, we're going to do another turn on the haunches. So I always turn to the inside, so I'm going to sit back. I'm going to back up a little bit because he probably fell asleep. And I was like, here, we're going to do something. Open the right rein. Look where you want to go. My leg's right at the girth. Pull when you hit midway so they don't walk away. And there we go. Okay. So he's doing pretty good, except for the tripping. And so we're going to see. I'm going to try and see if I can get a little canter out of him and how it goes. He gets lateral sometimes when he canters, and I've been working him on the lunge line. And I don't know if they cantered him under saddle, so I don't know if he has any clue how to do that or not. Okay. So I'm trying to get him light, get him paying attention. And I'm going to try and do it from the walk, and if that doesn't work, we'll try it from the saddle gait. So I'm going to half halt, shift my weight to the right leg canter. Canter. Now I'm going to pump. He thinks he's supposed to saddle gait. Now that's too fast, because there he's getting too lateral, and so it'll be hard to get the canter from that. So I'm slowing back down to regular saddle gait. Now I'm going to start to pump. Canter. Canter. Too fast. Slow down. Slow down. Canter. All right, so we're going towards the poles. Canter. Too fast. So I don't know if they canter or they just didn't canter to the left. So this would be easier in the round pen, but the round pen is flooded. Canter. Canter. Okay, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to use the pole over here. Canter. This is where I lunged him this morning. Canter. No. So he's confused. That's okay. That's how this stuff starts. Can't. Oh, boy. Well, okay. So first time cantering, he has no clue what I'm asking her. Remember when I did it with Sarah? It was horrible. So I went around, and over that pole, he did a canter step on the wrong lead. So I said, good job. That was it. So he's got to understand what I want first. Try not to run these horses around and start pacing around the arena and getting their legs too fast. They hit a hard pace, very lateral, and going fast, they usually cannot get the canter from that because the canter's diagonal. Yes. So he wants to itch. I'm going to itch it, but not with my stirrup because you don't want their head caught in there. So that was pretty good. So, and the reason, again, I came down here, I lunged him this morning, and I was working on the canter, and I thought, well, he's not getting it there. Why don't I go where I lunged him this morning and told him to canter a bunch of times and see if he makes the connection. So now I'm just going to try it again. So I try to teach him the word canter, but I'm not surprised he doesn't know it yet. Half halt, shift my weight, canter, canter, canter. He doesn't have it. He has the saddle gait. Canter. I got to hold them together. He started getting too strung out. Canter. Nope. Got strung out. Nope. Slow it down. Canter. Lean back. Oh boy, 2 steps. Whoa, whoa. See how heavy he got? You sit way back. If they go to pacing after that pole, they can totally trip and fall down. I've ridden a lot of these horses. So you make sure, especially if your horse gets pacey or heavy, once you get the canter step and you're going to stop because they fall out of it or something, lean back as far as you can and just slam on the brakes. That's much safer than letting them drag you, trip, and then fall down. So that was great. So we got 2 steps, so that's it. First time cantering, we quit. Good boy. He's like, lady, where are the cookies? I haven't gotten any in a long time. I ran out of cookies and I haven't filled them back up. So he's just going to get a rest. We're going to try the other way. Now the canter was good. It was smooth. You don't want to push for more. That's all he can do today. He had no concept. He probably still doesn't. He was just guessing. So tomorrow he might not get it again. But we're trying for it. We're adding new things on. And that canter, since sometimes he gets a little pacey when I'm doing the saddle gait, he used to get trotty, but now he's getting a little pacey. If I start cantering, that will help his saddle gait to separate his legs more because the canter's diagonal. And a lot of times if you can't get a saddle gait and you're trying to get one or a rack, you can canter him and some of those horses will fall out of the canter and then they'll do the saddle rack or the rack. Sorry, interspersing the names. So the saddle gait, saddle rack, same thing, just a slow rack. And then your rack is just faster because sometimes when you're cantering, they'll be pretty fast. So that was quite good. The other thing that can help you, say you're trying to get a saddle gait and you can't get it from your horse. A lot of horses, when they spook, they come up under them and invert themselves. Their head comes up, their hind quarter comes down like they scoot like a dog, and they'll go into a rack. So if your horse is spooky and you're trying to get the saddle gait, sometimes if something spooks them behind, you'll get that gait and you'll be able to get it. Okay, so we're going to stick down here and we're going to try for the other direction. And I want to do the 3 poles because he's not coordinated enough yet. Okay, so here we go. So a half halt, shift my weight to the outside to help him, left leg canter. So he's saddle gaiting, so he didn't get it. Canter. See him trip? Half halt, shift my weight, canter. Whoa, sit way back. Good boy, he stayed off his front end. So what you saw was probably nothing, but what I could feel was a little jump, just a tiny bit of a rocking motion, which is towards the canter. So I stopped to let him know that's what I'm trying to get. You didn't get it, but if you try, you get a rest. So hopefully the next time I come around, he'll try a little bit harder. Now again, when horses are learning, just like when we're learning, it's a guess in the beginning. They're guessing and they have no clue. So sooner or later, those guesses show them that they're right and they begin to know what you want. But in the beginning, it's all a guess. So it's not like he did that and now he's going to canter 5 steps. So a half halt, shift my weight, canter. Now, he's saddle gaiting, so I'm going to hold them together a little bit more and wait for the pole because the pole helps. Shift my weight, left leg. Good boy. So he did a little canter step, but not the correct lead. So I can't remember when I lunge him. He has one better direction on the canter. So now this might be a mistake, but I'm going to try and get one more step because that was on the wrong lead, and I'd like to see if he could do it a little bit better. I'm going to change my stick just in case. Sometimes, I usually carry the stick on the outside when I'm cantering them, but sometimes I change it around because I'm like, let's see if I put it on the inside, if that helps him more. Okay. So not a long rest because he'll forget what he's doing. So here we go. Half halt, outside leg. Okay, he didn't get it. Little hop, but not enough. Canter. That saddle gait, sometimes you can get the canter out of it. Canter. Close. Told you this might have been a mistake. Canter. Together. Close. Sorry, buddy. Hey, good enough. Oh, now that was good enough. He kind of got it. It was saddle gait, kind of rock and motion, gait elope. Who cares? Close enough. So that was good. Now, normally I side pass and do all sorts of stuff. Not today. Because he did a good job, and we want to quit when he's good and not give him harder things to do. Because then he might think next time he canters, then he has to side pass. Good. And you can always side pass and do all those things ahead of time. So then, but I don't mind. He does his side pass pretty good now. So I'm going to work on that more and gate opening and other things. But now he has a flat walk. Again, young horse. He's just 3 years old. He has a flat walk, a saddle gait, and now we're starting to teach the canter. And he has all the basics in the arena. So he has all the things. It's just now practice and finishing, keeping him strong, and then making him the best he can be. All right, remember to like and subscribe. It helps me with YouTube and helps me get more followers, so please follow along. I never ask. I always forget. But I hope that helps you with your gaited horse.